My speech is entitled The Stolen Kennedy Bonds and Who Done It. Good day. My name is George Washington Hunt, and I am prepared to present a complaint to the United States government officials who are involved in a probable crime against we, the people. I am a retired CEO of a publishing firm and have had wide experience in most areas of the business world. President John F. Kennedy issued Executive Order 11,110 on June 4, 1963. His bold order replaced the Federal Reserve Bank franchise with the United States issued currency. President Kennedy established real U.S. money backed by silver in place of the worthless Federal Reserve crap that soils our hands. His action abolished the power of the Rothschild dynasty to control our currency through the Federal Reserve Bank and gave us power over our own financial affairs instead of the members of the Synagogue of Satan. President Kennedy issued an initial $4.3 billion of U.S. money into circulation. It was backed by silver and reinforced by additional Treasury assets of at least $10 billion of 10 $1 billion Kennedy bearer bonds, that is, payable to the bearer just like cash, no names on it. Very good for money laundering, by the way. And these bearer bonds were issued to support the silver that was backing our currency, a buffer. These 10 bearer bonds gave extra support to the silver certificates, which were already backed by all the silver bullion, silver, and silver dollars in the U.S. Treasury. When currency is issued, it becomes a liability of the Treasury Department. The currency should be backed by assets of the same value. Kennedy's money was supported by silver and liquid bearer bonds. President Kennedy began replacing the 1s, 5s, and 10s of worthless Federal Reserve notes with his hard currency backed by silver. Unfortunately, the Federal Reserve Board of Directors elected to have him murdered in Dallas, Texas, for his courageous act, just as his 20s were being printed for circulation. On June 8, 2009, President Kennedy's 10 $1 billion bonds mysteriously appeared in the luggage of 2 Japanese travelers intercepted at the Italian-Switzerland border. An additional 249 Federal Reserve bonds of $500 million each were also included in the luggage. A total bond theft of $134.5 billion, apparently from the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve. Near perfect, some Italian currency experts stated. Others in the Italian currency police went so far as to say they are real. The bonds are still sequestered in Italy somewhere, so the Italian press says, and Timothy Geithner, Treasury Secretary, has been quoted that the bonds are fake. The Italian currency police presume they are actually real, and I am going on that assumption as well. The American press hasn't said a decent word about this grand theft, so I delved into it on my own. By whose authority could such large denominations of bonds leave our Treasury? The trail seems to lead to our present Secretary of the Treasury, Timothy Franz Geithner. Internet information suggests that former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan has been mentioned in the theft case, and even President Obama has been included because he appointed Geithner. Geithner has worked with Obama's mother in the past on Common Cause and Ford Foundation work, so Obama has past associations with Geithner through his mother. The entire case has been swept into so much secrecy by the American press that very few Americans know what is going on. Have any of you heard about the grand theft of $134.5 billion from our nation's treasury? Today you know. Now let's take a look at Geithner's honesty level, as reported on YouTube and Wikipedia and the Wall Street Journal and Time magazine. See if he's the person that you want to trust in the Treasury. According to the Wikipedia report on Geithner, he had to submit to audits before he took over the Treasury Secretary's position. The audit in 2006 determined that Geithner had not paid $49,847 in federal taxes on items he had overlooked on his 2003 and 2004 income taxes. He was required to pay $15,000 in interest on the total amount he had not reported on his returns as well. He admitted he had forgotten to disclose income on his tax returns and that he had made mistakes about some illegal tax deductions. He admitted that he had failed to pay $35,000 in Social Security taxes he had accidentally overlooked. The IRS let him off easy. They overlooked auditing his 2001 and 2002 tax returns, quote, because fraud in 2003 and 2004 were not suspected. Nor did he have to pay a $5,000 fine for his substantial understatement of taxes either, nor the standard negligence penalty of about 9% of his federal taxes owed for negligence, which all of us common taxpayers would be forced to pay under similar conditions. Think about it. This is our present Secretary of the Treasury, who underpaid his taxes by almost $50,000 and was somehow excluded from further audits in his 2001 and 2002 taxes. Later, he filed amendments for those years before a Senate panel hearing in January of 2010, just prior to his confirmation as Secretary of the Treasury. The audit revealed tax negligence costing him another $25,950 in unpaid taxes and interest, according to the Wall Street Journal. Somehow, Geithner's unpaid tax totals were lower in the U.S. newspapers than the amount reported in Wikipedia, but I did not pursue the discrepancies. According to Time magazine and the Wall Street Journal of January 31st, 2009, Geithner passed through the closed-door session with the powerful Senate Finance Committee leaders, Senator Max Baucus and Senator Chuck Grassley, in charge. Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah was in attendance at the closed-door meeting and remarked afterwards, "I still support him. He's a very competent guy." Well, off the cup, I was surprised to see a righteous Mormon side with him like that. We commoners would have roasted, suffered very severe penalties and fines and audits if we were in Geithner's shoes. In my opinion, Geithner skated out of all these potentially embarrassing dilemmas because he worked for the Treasury Department and he had strong political connections. Geithner is also the person in charge of distributing $700 billion in TARP funds to certain parties the world over. As an example of his work, he paid $3 billion to AIG with the understanding that AIG would pass it through to Crédit Agricole, a Rothschild bank in Europe. Was that money paid to Agricole Credit a valid note receivable, or was it created artificially? Will we ever know? We don't know what's afoot in our Treasury Department, do we? I believe that Americans should require Obama, Geithner, Greenspan, and the Italian currency police to come clean on this issue. The banksters are up to something, and we have got to learn, we have got to find out. Our country is in peril. Don't you understand it? We're ready to go down. And we have people in our government that are actually working against us, including senators, representatives, U.S. justices, district attorneys. It's a whole compilation of New World Order creeps that are trying and are getting away with turning us into a Commonwealth country, reporting to the Queen. If the bonds are almost perfect counterfeits, let's presume they're almost perfect counterfeits, which the Italian police at least said they were. The world banking systems then have already been polluted with false U.S. bearer bonds. You can count on it. And the balance sheets of the European banks and the banks in the Rothschild syndicate and the Intesa syndicate and the Vatican Bank, Banco Ambrosiano syndicate, they're being audited just this week for money laundering. We're cooked. We're cooked. We've been polluted by false U.S. bearer bonds. We can presume that if there's a counterfeiting operation going on. And the capital sections of the worldwide banking syndicates are swelling with false assets they do not own and false capital they do not have. And they're trading that false capital and false liquidity right now for hard currency and for hard assets. They're buying hard things before the currency systems dissolve. Auditors throughout the world will accept these fake, near-perfect bonds as genuine. How do they know? They won't know any better, but Geithner knows. The frightening possibility that our treasurer will be assaulted by false bearer bonds, complete with the proper treasury codes, numbers, dates, etc., for their face value, will seal our fate of complete bankruptcy. Counterfeiters sell these sorts of bonds to bankers for 40 to 60 cents on the dollar, according to the Italian currency police. That would be a good deal. Someone comes in, hey Joe, you want $1 billion bearer bond? I'll sell it to you for 40%. Well, okay, here's a 400 a million. I put $1 billion on my balance sheet, and suddenly I got a net increase in my capital of $600 million. It's a good deal. So that's what's going on. The Rothschilds, China, Japan, Citibank, you name them, are eager to pad their balance sheets with these false assets if they are counterfeit. And if they are real, then we've got foxes in the henhouse. Timothy Geithner's tarnished past makes our trusted Treasury servant suspect. After working under Henry Kissinger for 3 years, he eventually ascended to Undersecretary of the Treasury for International Affairs under Robert Rubin and Lawrence Summers, his mentors and proteges. He ascended next to the presidency of the Fed of New York and is the person who, according to his peers, caused the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy. Geithner allegedly had prior knowledge that Lehman Brothers had sent $400 million of their shareholders' capital to 3 Israeli banks, causing the Lehman collapse. Finance experts believe that Geithner's failure to act properly in the Lehman situation caused the September 2008 crash of our financial systems. Please, let's make a hullabaloo out of this. Pass it on to others. If we agitate this issue, the powers that be will have to come out of the woodwork. As they lie, we'll try to see through their lies. If we do not accomplish a complete audit of Geithner's work and return to financial honesty in all places, then let us prepare to be a Commonwealth nation under the jurisdiction of the English royalty and their household of kings, queens, barons, earls, dukes, princesses, viscounts, and their ilk. Signed, George W. Hunt.